So the boomers definitely very much like you should be grateful you have a job. Gen Z is very much on the opposite end, kind of like you're lucky that we're here.
Yeah, so I was going to say that's the other interesting part.
That-
It's like it's totally flipped now. It's the same.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're the Midlife Guys. So today we've got a great topic. We're going to talk about how midlifers are navigating the workforce between the stuffy fucking boomers who forced me to wear a coat and tie in the office for all those fucking years. Because that's the way it used to be. And the craziest shit, Gen Z.
Some wild stuff on that side.
Shit, you're lucky if you even get them into an office. So, but before we do that, Andrew, do you know that we're a week away from our 1-year anniversary?
Oh, I actually did not know that. We are. That's awesome.
It is going to be so cool. I think we should do it live. We should do a live show. This is where I need Freeman to insert that little clip of Bill O'Reilly being like, "We'll do it fucking live."
No. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
That's a reference, by the way. Is Bill O'Reilly even still alive? I don't see around.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
That motherfucker's going to hang on forever.
I guess we could try. Oh, man, that might be interesting. We can give it a shot.
We'll do it live, and we'll get all these people bringing in their questions. I think that would be fun.
Anniversary spectacular or something.
And 1-year anniversary spectacular. All right, going back to the workforce. So I wanted to talk about this because there was this article that came out this past weekend on CNBC, which I pretty much agreed with everything that was outlined in the article. I'm going to pull it up. And it was 5 rules that your parents taught you that are sabotaging your career.
It is a good article, real quick. Could you send it to me as well? So we should put a link in the show notes because I actually found it very helpful too. Because you saw them and were like, "Oh, check this out." I was like, "Oh, that's actually very on point."
It really is because we as midlifers, and I will admit, whereas I'm not as stuffy as the boomers, I don't think you need to wear a fucking coat and tie in every day and, follow the rules of every single the way things used to be. I'm also just not like way in the other side with like the Gen Z folks. So I'm somewhat in the middle, but I think these tips that were outlined in this article were really important to kind of see how the workforce is evolving because we're right in the middle. Yet again, we've talked about that sandwich generation when it comes to the home, but raising kids and having to take care of parents. But we're kind of in this sandwich generation in the workforce as well, trying to navigate 2 polar opposite personalities.
Yeah. Well, we've been in for so long too, right? For 20 years. I was talking about that, which is kind of wild to think about. Like it has really evolved from when we first started. I think like the workforce or just workforce culture in a lot of places.
Yes. And, some people will sit there and say, because I was talking to somebody about this recently, they were like, well, COVID is the thing that really changed it all. And I was like, I don't know. Things really started changing right after the Great Recession. That's where I feel like things really started. People became a lot less rigid. It
was more casual.
It was a little bit more casual because we had all gone through a pretty traumatic experience. I mean, yet again, saw people getting marched out because they were mass layoffs and stuff like that. And that's
companies were falling apart and stuff. It was
companies were falling to pieces and stuff like
that.
We
just entered the workforce. How exciting for us that we were like a couple years in and like, oh. But I think COVID probably is certainly the work from home trend. I feel like definitely picked up after COVID.
Yes.
But I think becoming more casual, you're right. That probably seems, I'm trying to reflect back on, it's hard to remember 20 plus years ago or 20-ish years ago. Like, I feel like, I think some of this more casual stuff started to loosen up before 2020. Because I feel like the 20 teens, things were definitely going in the whole, like, you weren't expected to wear a suit, let alone a tie most days, or like casual Fridays were a legit thing. And then it started to be like casual almost every day. I don't know the last time I've worn a suit, a tangent, I'm just making me think about that. funerals, maybe. I don't know. What is the last time I put a suit on?
No, don't say that. We do
Yeah.
have work things that require us to wear suits
I
every
guess
once in a
it's
while, but
every now and then. Yeah.
every now and then. But yeah, I mean, I think there has been, I guess this 2010s really saw a dramatic shift in how the workplace worked, um, in terms of just the overall dynamic. Um, but I don't want to get too deep into that yet because I do want to go through these different points that were in the article,
Yes.
which I think are important. So the first one I can really relate to is don't get too big for your britches. So that yet again, this is a comment that our parents would have made to us while
Yeah.
entering the workforce. And
advice
to
we
all,
had growing up, right? Like I feel like as a kid, a lot
yes.
of these things were things you were told growing up and in school. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it also, I guess that's a different dynamic because that's in school and at home and stuff like that. But in the workforce, the don't get too big for your britches thing
Right.
is all about this idea of staying humble
Yeah.
and just, going with the flow with what your boss tells you. Now, Andrew and I do come from a unique perspective on this front because we got too big for our britches very early on and then started our own fucking company because we didn't want to work for somebody else any longer.
But we did work for other companies before. So we've been in the corporate environment.
Yes. But
it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been quite a while. And because we saw a better way to do things. We saw better ways to interact with folks and better ideas. And so this whole don't get too big for your britches type of advice that the boomer generation would tell us or midlifers in the workforce is definitely something that I was like, oh my God, this totally resonates with me because, you're just being modest. You're being humble. It's, it's this idea of, we're all just supposed to just walk through a job like a zombie, instead of bringing new, fresh ideas to the table. And if they don't listen to your fresh ideas, go start your own fucking business. So that really resonated to me. And I was like, oh my God. What about you? Tell me more, Andrew.
No, I do think that's right. Like, I think all the five. In fact, why don't you do want to run through the five? Because I now don't remember all of them. But that one definitely, I think they all did in some extent. And maybe we can talk about ones that really stood out because that one definitely did. The idea of staying humble or don't take too much credit for stuff.
Always be grateful for the opportunity.
That was the other one. Yes. Yeah.
Just keep the peace. I mean, kind of. Yes, I guess that's probably where I'm going to be in the middle of the road between the boomers and the Gen Z. Do your job well and everything else will fall into place. I actually do agree with that. And figure it out yourself. I also agree with that. So there's I'm yet again I'm right in the middle.
Three
there's like
for
two.
Five.
I'm like,
yeah, four,
the third one I'm just like kind of on the edge. So very much in the middle.
Yeah. So the big for your britches thing, it resonates because I remember, again, in school in terms of like getting ready for a career and early in my career, the idea of like, don't speak out too much. Like you've got to learn, you kind of have to like pull your weight, all that type of stuff. And I do think some of it too is this idea of like, oh, you're on a team, so everyone on the team gets credit. And I think there's maybe fairness in some regard to that. And certainly when you're early on in your career, you are learning a lot, right? You don't necessarily know a whole bunch of anything. But I think that often the flip side of that, which is what this article was talking about, is when you don't take credit for good work that you do, then you're going to be passed over by someone else, or you're not going to actually get the respect and the acknowledgement that you deserve. So I do think there is a balance there of certainly not wanting to seem like you're taking credit for everybody else's work, but also making it clear like when you've contributed in a significant way. And I do think that's something that a lot of kind of midlifers or us when we were working, like starting out, was not, you were definitely encouraged, like, oh, just sit back and be quiet, or you can contribute. But again, the team takes credit for what happens, or whoever is leading the team gets all of the praise. And I don't think that's very helpful.
It's really funny that you bring this up because, of course, your son had his first like real team/group project this past academic year.
He did. It's like legit
And he
group
got
project.
he got the first-hand view of when people don't do shit on the team. And
Welcome to life.
He was very confused about
he was upset about it too. Yeah.
He was upset and he was confused about how to feel.
And the fact that the team got a overall grade for the total teamwork, there weren't individual grades. It was just like, this is what the whole team gets. And yes, he had to work through, which is, you start that, I guess, at, third, fourth grade, that idea of like figuring out that, some people are going to contribute more, but maybe not everybody gets sort of the same amount of credit for that work. And obviously in a, working environment, it's different than at school. But yeah, I think it's important though. And I think it also goes to the second point to some extent about being grateful, or that idea that like, which I definitely think this is true for our generation, is sort of twofold, is sort of, just be happy you're here. Like you should just be grateful that you have an opportunity, versus like, well, I earned this opportunity. And if I excel, like, I should be recognized in some way, shape, or form for that, which doesn't mean like awards or things, but like it could be promotions or raises or more responsibility or whatever that looks like.
Bonus.
But that's another one. Yeah, bonuses. I think that's true. It's just sense of, again, just be happy you're there. And it's like, well, yeah, there's some truth to that. But again, it's like you earned your way there. And it's like, there's something we, I think, discovered early on too, which is a little bit different maybe, is like, companies don't, or corporations, those entities, like, what matters is them making enough money so that their key stakeholders, whether those are partners or principals or leaders, whatever, make more money. Like they don't actually care about how everyone does, even if like, oh, we do really care. It's like, yeah, at the end of the day, you don't really care how like everyone in the organization does. And there is that mentality of like, oh, I should just be happy that I'm here. It's like, no, I should be acknowledged for what I'm contributing and the value that I bring. And if I'm not acknowledged for that, then maybe I should look for some place that might acknowledge it in some way, shape, or form. And I do think that's shifted though. I feel like that idea was much stronger when we were first entering the workforce. And I do think it's a little bit less so now, or maybe that's one reason people are much more mobile now too, is kind of or try to make sure they sort of recognize their own worth, or are, valued at what they think is right for their talents.
Yeah. Although, according to the latest job numbers, nobody's mobile right now because nobody got a fucking job.
Yeah, that's a whole separate conversation about like
be careful,
the economy right now. Yeah, but I do think, and that's part of it too, right? Is like the economy that you're in obviously dictates how, forceful you can be with that stuff. But I think certainly don't undersell or undervalue yourself, which I think was definitely something we were maybe instilled in us at a younger age.
Was it? Where does it come from?
I don't know, that sense of like, again, because just be happy you're here.
Well, I will say, like, in my first two corporate jobs, it was very much like you should be happy that you even have a job type of. Oh,
was that like the message that they sent?
That was absolutely the fucking message. I remember
my first couple was that. Yeah, the first one, it might have been that. I don't know. Yeah.
It was definitely like you should be thankful that you have a fucking job, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's a toxic environment in which to be in.
That's true.
And so when you sit there and say like, no, we should be, you should be celebrating the value that I'm bringing to your company. That's not something that I think was instilled in us in the workplace.
Oh, no, I'm saying no, it was not. Like the undervaluing you, I think, was what was instilled in the workplace, is like the sense like you shouldn't stand out. Like, yes, like you're glad you're here, we're paying you, you should be grateful for that. Yeah, I was saying I think it's transition, and maybe this is just part of us becoming older too and being more kind of senior in our careers, where I think we can now sort of say like, no, I should be valued for what I contribute to my organization, a project, a client, whatever it is. But I was saying, yeah, I think when we were younger, that was definitely not the mentality. It was sort of like, yeah, you should be grateful that you're here and don't speak up too much or complain too much, and we're going to pay you what we want to pay you. And like, I remember too, when I left my first job, most people stayed for a couple of years as an entry-level position. I left a little bit earlier than most, and it was like this big thing like, oh, how could you leave early? I was like, I don't know. I found a better job that's paying me more and giving me more responsibility. Like that seems like that's a step in the right direction. But it was just this sense of like, but we always stay for 2 or 3 years. That's what you have to do. And it was just interesting, the idea of like, again, be grateful that you have the privilege of working here. And it's like, you know, you're paying me, thank you, but like I'm also contributing something in order to earn the paycheck that you are
Mm-hmm.
giving to me. And
Mm-hmm.
if I find a better opportunity, like I'm going to take that better opportunity. It's like you're not really looking out for
Mm-hmm.
my best interests long term, which is fine. Like that's not what I would expect from most companies.
No. Um, and so I think it begs the question then is
Uh,
where did we get this mentality to
yeah.
say, no, you need to value us more? Because I was right there with you. No, you need to value the work that I am bringing to, or that I'm contributing to the organization. And if you're not, go fuck yourself. I'm out.
If you can find find another job first, and then you can
Yeah. I mean,
be out. Yeah. I would, because I
and
feel
we
like
did, Andrew.
we
We
did,
did.
yes. The reverse of that, I feel like the whole be grateful, that had been around for a generation, it feels like, right? Wasn't it like a post World War II type of thing, right? Where it's all just like, you have a job, be happy. Maybe it's even before that, I don't know. But when did it change? Yeah, that is the question.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not when did that change as much as like why did we change? Why
Oh,
are
right. Maybe that's a
midlifers
better way to put it. Right.
tuned into the fact that like no, we're bringing value. That
Right.
value needs to be respected, or we will find an alternative place of employment, or we will
Yeah.
start our own thing. And I think it's interesting. So the boomers definitely very much like you should be grateful you have a job. Gen Z is very much on the opposite end, kind of like you're lucky that we're here.
Yeah, so I was going to say that's the other interesting part.
That
It's like it's totally flipped now. It's the sense of like, yeah, it's like you're lucky I should be here. Reminded me, I was laughing because we've both been in interviews with people, both at our company and at other companies, with Gen Z in particular. And so you ask them like, well, what are some of your like goals over the next couple of years? And I can't think of an interview where it wasn't like, well, I want to be like a senior vice president, or I want to be running this, or I want to be a partner in like 2 years. It's like, y'all, you're 22. Let's just pump the brakes for a minute. Like, you should value if you contribute. That's great. That should be acknowledged. But like, you're not gonna like jump ahead over everybody else. It is wild to me how it has like swung so far to the other side.
Yeah, I love the ambition. I do
Yeah.
love the ambition. I think that's great, and I love that this new generation is so ambitious. I agree that you need some experience. You can't just jump right into it. Um, and so that's a little challenging. I also think companies may be going overboard because we interact, especially like certain companies that we pay to do services for our firm, really have gotten into like, I think too far into like the cultural appreciation type of stuff in terms of like happy hour every Friday afternoon or dress down days. And this, well, not that you need to dress up for work. Um, you need to look fine, but you don't look like a bum, but at the same time, you don't need to be in a coat and tie or like this and that and these things. Yet again, bonuses for a job well done, things like that, I think are really important. Oh, your dog's saying hello.
She agrees with you. Yeah,
Uh,
she's clearly very upset by this
but
culture.
all
Of
this
what
stuff that companies
happened.
do nowadays to keep their to just show their appreciation, I feel like it's a bit much. It's kind of a little overblown.
I mean, I guess it depends on the company, maybe, or like what works for them. I feel like it is. This is I guess, a broader point too. Is like it's hard to have these like mass pronouncements that work for everybody, right? Because I guess each industry is a little bit different. The type of personalities you have working for you is different, and how they react to things is different. So, like maybe some people are motivated solely by money, and that needs to be the focus for them. I think there are others who are motivated by other things too, like recognition or social aspects of work. And so, I mean, I think it's maybe finding a balance, and I do think it's not being prescriptive of like all companies have to go far to one side or far to the other. I guess it's figure out kind of what works you think for the people who you employ, as long as they're obviously producing or doing a good job. I feel like that's a huge part of this
I'm not sure
too.
that's possible though, especially when you have a
Isn't
really
it? I don't
big
know.
company.
I
You
guess
kind
you
of
have to
just got
cut
to
it. Yeah,
do it for everybody.
everybody.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, this
Do
is
you do
why
it for everybody? I feel like
this
too,
is why I
sometimes.
hate HR people, because they'll sit there and force you into this shit too. I'll sit there and be like, oh no, if you did it for this person, then this, if you held a birthday party for this person, then this other person has to have a birthday party too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yet again, I want to show appreciation to employees. I do. I think it's really important to recognize and to show their value within a company. Um, I love bonuses. Happy hours are fine. You don't need a fucking happy hour every week though. Um, but yeah, it's just all of these different programs that, like, especially HR people come up with. It's too much. I think it's just too much.
Hmm.
But
I
that's
mean,
me.
if I think that is you. If I was like, if I had to choose between like happy hours or bonus, I'm like, I'll take the bonus. Thank you. We don't need to do all the other
Yeah,
things.
well,
But again, I think like some of this maybe is companies do the other stuff because it's cheaper than paying people more. Or
well, you and I have always been more money motivated, which is why we started our own company. So
I'm going to
just
track
keep
how many times you mentioned that during this episode. I feel like that was like number 6, maybe, or 7.
it. You know, it again. We're kind of in an odd situation because of that. Just keeping the peace. To a certain extent, I agree with this. To a certain extent, I don't. I don't think you. I hate drama in the workforce. Do not fucking be dramatic in the workforce. The people that will bring drama into the workplace are incredibly toxic, and it's just not necessary. So, in that respect,
But
keeping the
we've
peace.
also seen lots of workplaces where people who bring the drama keep getting promoted. Like that's how they get ahead, which is kind of wild. Is like that there's kind of drama follows them and they try to like solve the drama and then they sort of use that as a stepping board. I've definitely seen that.
No. Well, yeah, I guess that's true. And that's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, I
And
do
some
think the
people are
keep.
just wrapped in drama all the time.
Well, that's true. They just live in drama, which is exhausting. I feel like we talked about that in a previous episode about avoiding the drama. But yeah, I think the keeping the peace, and if I remember correctly, the article kind of makes this point of it's the idea of like not like being a leader, especially as you grow in your career. It's like being able to manage difficult situations and to sort of navigate those in a professional way. And I think that's really solid advice. So it's not just staying quiet because you don't want to rock the boat, but it is being able to, in a constructive way, share something, a different perspective or feedback, or say, like, hey, I don't think this is the right way to go, or I don't like how you're behaving in the situation. Like, let's kind of work through it. I think that's a valuable skill to have versus just sitting back and letting people just go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the article talks about hard conversations.
Yeah.
And it is important. And we've talked about that on this podcast before, that, a sign of maturity is when you like are able to confront and have those mature, but difficult conversations, especially in the workforce, because your livelihood is tied to it. But when you are confronted with a challenging situation, it could be a teammate, it could be a project, it could be your boss. It's really important that be addressed.
Yeah.
And so, yet again, this is why I'm kind of on that. This is such a broad topic.
Right.
It's like, yes, don't bring your drama, but at the same time, you don't need to keep the peace when something is awry, because it could lead to a bigger problem within the company.
Right.
So,
and I think it's also about, I guess it's picking your battles to some extent too, right? It's like what's worth having those hard conversations around and what's worth just like letting someone who's just, an asshole, whatever, just like letting it roll off your back. That's just kind of who they are a lot of the time. I think there are different gradients of like, we need to have a hard conversation about this.
yeah, that's true.
Which I feel
But
like I'm
again,
curious as we've gotten older, and again, been doing this for our careers as a lot of midlifers have for 20 plus years. Like, do you feel like you've gotten better at figuring out when to have those hard conversations or not have those hard conversations?
yes,
I think I have
absolutely.
too. Yeah. Like you feel like with more experience and perspective, you can probably figure out like when to actually have to intervene and like have that difficult conversation or tell someone that they're making a very bad decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, I think that's why we have been fortunate to work with some great people, is because they
Yeah.
trust us to say what's on our minds, especially when somebody's making a bad decision.
Yeah.
Um,
I do
Now,
think
whether
too
they
else.
listen to
Yeah.
that or not, that's a
Right.
different
That's another
story.
thing. Also, but it does make me think of one other point that I feel like maybe is different than previous generations. I'm not 100% sure of this. I'd love if other people think this or not to share their thoughts. But, we talked earlier about the idea of sort of knowing your worth and being recognized for the value that you're contributing to something. And if you're not getting that, that's a good reason to maybe look for other opportunities. I think on the flip side of that, if you're in a toxic environment or like having to constantly keep the peace or deal with crazy, I think that's another thing that is worth starting to look around, which I did not really think about when I was early in my career. I don't think I just assumed maybe a lot of people are kind of like rude or crazy or belligerent or whatever it is. And we've also had experiences, where if you're with someone who is, calling you constantly in the middle of the night or demanding things from you after hours or just being rude and disrespectful to you constantly, like those should also be red flags that I think I should probably look for something else because this is not worth all the heartburn and the drama and the anxiety that it comes with it, which I do think that kind of comes with age as well, that money's important, but that's not the only reason to stay or leave a job.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very true. Yet again, on the flip side, Gen Z, sometimes you need to learn to pick your battles. Not
That's
everything,
exactly right. Yeah.
not everything needs to be an argument.
No,
Not
or
everything needs to be an argument.
and just because someone has a different perspective from you doesn't make them a bad person either. Like,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. So you're gonna have a long, hard time in the workforce if you don't. Doing your job well and everything else will fall into place. For the most part, I feel like that's kind of true.
I do agree that that's generally true. I think we've been fortunate that that's definitely been true in our careers, is that that's kind of worked out. I will say, I do wonder because I feel like maybe that's not always been the case for everybody. Like there have been people who've probably tried to do a really good job, but just broader like macroeconomic forces have kind of screwed them over. Which, and we've talked about this in the past too. Like our generation as a whole has hit a lot of economic headwinds and challenges. And I was actually just reading an article today on the economics of housing and how like it is the most expensive it's ever been to like purchase and to own a home now than it's been throughout like our in the United States history. And like again, those are bigger macroeconomic forces where like you might be trying to do everything right, but you still don't feel like you're getting ahead or can't get ahead. So I do think like again for us, I feel like that resonates, but I'm not sure that resonates for everybody who's kind of in midlife right now.
I think that's very true. Um, yeah, I mean, there are always going to be broader macroeconomic challenges, but
Or just
I'd say
crappy luck, potentially too, just to
probably
pick a bad
50% of the
company.
time, the whole fucking company will collapse rather than just that person's job.
That's
So,
what I mean, though. You could just be, they just unfortunately, like, we're like, oh, I'm going to, I know what's a good example of like high flying. Like Groupon or something was super popular when we first came out. And it's like 3 years later collapsed. And yeah,
mhm. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't think that takes away from a person's resume. I mean, if they were
that's
doing a good
true.
job
Yeah.
then another employer will see that they were doing a good job and they will have good references. Um, and so I
I'm,
think it will work out, even if the
I will
company
say,
doesn't.
unless you're like a Nepo baby, then I think you have to do a good job if you want to move forward and like excel in your career. Like, I do think it's harder if you're going to be lazy to actually get ahead. I think again, after 20 plus years, that's certainly been my experience with lots of different organizations and people. It's like you have to have some talent and skill to really propel your career forward.
Hmm. No. And figure it out yourself. I can't
And
wait to hear your comments about this.
still do that. I have 100% of something that like I feel like I've deeply instilled, and it's not just with work; it's like with everything in life. So it's like, do you need help? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Leave me alone. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. Yeah, I feel like that's a lesson I did learn early on. And I was fortunate to have a couple of like mentors that tried to help explain the fact that it's okay to ask for help and to learn from others and to, rely on others to move ahead, or at least to learn how to grow. But I think that idea of like, you have to figure it out yourself. And the article did a good job of explaining it. It was often perceived when we were younger as a weakness if you didn't know the answer to something. Um, and that definitely like rang true with my experience. So I think this is definitely something that we had. And I think I've grown out of it at least a little bit. Maybe not. You're like, that's my wife. She'll probably say I've not grown out of it at all about the whole like I can do it myself.
This man will spend 2 hours Googling something, and he could have just called me, and I'd have told him I'd fix it in 5 minutes.
Might not be true. YouTube is great. Just look up anything. It tells you how to do it.
I don't know what it was that you were were you dealing with a couple months ago. And I was like, oh no, I changed this. And you were like,
oh no, it was one of something in a software that we use. And you did not tell me you changed the settings. And I was like, why isn't this working? And I spent like an hour trying to figure it out. And I was like, and then I think I like text her coach, like, this isn't working for me. Is it working for you? And we're like, oh no, I changed it. I'm like, well, you could have told me that you changed the setting.
You could have just called me too.
How would I know?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on figuring it out? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think figuring it out is a good best practice. There are times where you don't have the answer. So you need to ask questions of those who might know or have a little bit more insight into the situation. And so, yeah, figure it out.
So this also made me think of one other piece of advice, which I don't think fits exactly with this article, but is important. And I think you'll agree with me on this. We'll see. Is I was always the mentality, and I think this is true throughout most of my experiences, like the whole kind of figure it out for yourself, is that it's okay to make mistakes as well. The idea of like you can't make a mistake or that's like some sort of weakness or something's wrong with you. It's like making a mistake for the first time, like that's okay. We're all human. We don't know everything. We make mistakes. But if you make mistakes repeatedly, then we're going to have some problems. And I feel like that's been pretty true too.
It's a good question. I don't know if I ever felt that way or got that type of
Okay.
advice. My first boss was very, very forward about mistakes. And the comment was always like, if you take ownership of the mistake, then we're fine. If you try to hide it, then we're not fine.
That's a problem.
So it wasn't like a like you can't make mistakes. And I never felt that way in the workforce. You just got to take ownership for a mistake. And again, I think that's a good sign of maturity.
I think it is. I was more thinking of like, it's okay to make a mistake the first time, but if you don't learn from it, then that's like problematic. Like if you make a mistake, then you should be able to learn and to grow from that. And if you keep making the same like mistake multiple times, then there's like probably a deeper problem there.
Yeah, because you're just stupid. I mean, that's just good. That's just good fucking life advice. Don't keep making the same fucking mistake over and over and over again. That's just good life advice, Andrew.
There you go. I try to help just throughout life. Just throw those little nuggets out there for everybody.
Don't be fucking stupid.
And you've distilled it to that. There you go.
Exactly. All right.
It is. I will ask you one final quick question because I know we're about to we're past our 30-minute mark, but it's been interesting kind of looking back over how much our careers have changed in 20 years. And I will say, like, as I reflect back on that and some of, these pieces of advice that we were talking about, but just in general, like, I'm kind of amazed at how much has changed in like a 20-year period. Has it ever struck you of just like how different work is now versus when it was in like the early 2000s? Like technology, culture-wise, the way people behave, cursing, I feel like has become accepted this is just wild to me. That was like not before. So I'm just kind of like, I'm curious if, as you reflect on, 20 plus years in the workforce, have you been surprised at how different it seems? Or do you not think it's really that different?
No, I guess it has changed. I guess I hadn't really thought about it. Just like everything, it's a gradual change. And so, again, 20 years is a long fucking time, Andrew, in case you hadn't realized.
Oh, I realized.
So, it's been so gradual over 20 years that it just, I don't know if feels more natural to me. I don't feel like there was any like big leap. I mean, I guess COVID with the work from home being more popular
that was different,
was a big leap. But even then, they were work from home Fridays. People were doing work from home Fridays. So
summer Fridays used to be a thing. Yeah, I mean, I think
summer Fridays. Yeah,
it wasn't a big leap. I guess it was interesting when I was reflecting back on just 20 plus years recently. It just was, I guess, just interesting how much when you really think about it, has kind of evolved or maybe changed gradually. But those gradual changes have all added up to I think we're in a very different environment now than we were 20 years ago.
I appreciate the fact that there's a lot more honesty in the workplace than there used to be. I think when I look back, especially when I look back at other professional service firms, partners would hide shit from other partners. And that's kind of a bullshit way. I mean, the whole idea of
not really a partnership then. Yeah.
Really not really a partnership then. So, yeah, I think that honesty has become much more. It may not just be honesty, more maturity in terms of open communication. Maybe it's kind of a blend of all of those things.
Yeah.
And I think that has led to a much more respectful workplace. I still think that there's, the dynamic of working with boomers, midlifers, Gen Z, very challenging, and it's getting more and more challenging
because it's so different. They really are so different. The approaches
so fucking different.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing more and more boomers exit the workforce, and so we're going to be the managing or the gatekeeper for this next generation coming up, and it's gonna be a wild ride. Good ride.
Yeah.
Speaking of a wild ride, please, people, would you fucking tell your friends to subscribe, like and subscribe? We have fun conversations here. We're getting comments on our Facebook page, on our Instagram page, on our YouTube channel, all the time of people. But these people don't fucking subscribe. Subscribe. Make sure you don't miss an episode. I mean, for God's sakes, now we've already blown through 37 minutes.
Whew.
I know, it's a long episode. Good episode, but long episode. Don't edit it down. Just make sure you put that Bill O'Reilly.
Oh my God.
So if you've not done so already, please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it helps us out a lot. Remember, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia, and all your favorite podcasting platforms. And until next week, good luck, guys.
See ya.